954, The Voice of Truth, the official radio station of the Church of Christ or Iglesia ni Cristo.
Welcome back, everyone. This is INCradio's Faith and Melody, where we have deep, rich, and life-affirming conversations and listen to inspiring Iglesia ni Cristo original music. Today, we're talking about the big and small compromises that we all make at home, with friends, and everywhere in between. Is compromise a sign of weakness, or can it actually make us stronger? I'm Belle Celestino, coming from all the way from the United Kingdom.
And I'm Jay Esperanza from Australia. And as your host for today's broadcast, we're excited for all of you to join us. So sit back, relax, and let's get the show started and listen to the first song on our playlist, Kapatid, Tara Na!
Iglesia tayo ni Kristo, ang tungkulin ingatan. Araw-araw nagsisikap upang ating matupad. Hiling natin sa Ama, dinggin nawa ang ating dinig. Pangako sa Kanya at dalangin natin, narito sa ating awit. Kapatid, tara na! Sa paglalakbay, kapatid, tara na, ilang hakbang na lang ang tagumpay. Sa'yo'y may aalalay at gagabay. Tara na, tara na, tara na, tara na. Huwag mapagod, huwag matakot, di niya tayo pababayaan. Nagkalaan ang kaligayahan, walang hangganan. Kapatid, tara na, lang sa paglalakbay. Kapatid, tara na, ilang hakbang na lang ang tagumpay. Sa'yo'y may aalalay at gagabay. Tara na, tara
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to each and every one of you. And a quick time check, it's currently 12:06 a.m. there in our main studio over in the Philippines, past 2 a.m. here in Australia, and past 5 p.m. where Bell is over there in the United Kingdom. And you are tuned in to INC Radio's Faith and Melody, where later in the show, we're talking about the big and small compromises that we all make. On today's topic, the give and take game. But before we dive into our discussion on compromises, let's first begin with our kickoff chat.
Kickoff chat.
So, kickoff
So,
chat. Belle, what are we doing today?
well, so for today's kickoff chat, it's gonna be this or that compromise edition. So, each and one of us, me and Jay, will be choosing two everyday scenarios where when a compromise might be necessary, and listeners and us as well, hosts, are going to pick and share why we picked that one. But yes, shall we start off, Jay? But yes, for the first one. So, would you rather watch a movie you don't like or eat food you didn't choose?
Oh, okay. So this when you're this or that, right? So for everyone that's tuned in, which one would you rather do? For me, between watching a movie that I don't like, and to be honest, there's not really a lot of movies that I don't like, or choosing what is it, eating food that you didn't choose. I would rather I would rather go with that's a tough one. I'm gonna go with food. I'm gonna go with food that I didn't choose because I'm always up to try new cuisines, even though like I have my own favorite stuff. But I am willing to compromise since the topic is about compromising, right? I'm willing to compromise. I will want to select the movie because I want to be able to enjoy it, at least whatever I'm watching. And then the food, I will try something new. But how about you, Belle? Which one would you go? Would you either watch a movie that you don't like, right? So this is already something that you don't like, or eat food that you didn't choose.
So I would rather watch a movie that I don't like, and I don't think there is much movies that I don't like either. And on top of that, you if you're gonna watch a movie, it's gonna be like a length of time. It's gonna be a pretty lengthy movie. So I'd rather have good food that I
First,
know that I'm going to enjoy during that time. So I would rather like watch a movie that I didn't pick or don't really like in terms of that, Jay.
okay. That's okay. That's cool. That's cool. We've also got there the next one. I guess let's move on to the next kickoff chat question. Let me put that up there. So kickoff chat here. Would you rather clean the house or cook the meal? All right, between those two, I'll go first this time, Belle. All right, so
Okay,
in
no
between
worries.
cleaning the house or cooking the meal, I would rather clean the house because I am not a very good cook. Um, we have our Kuya Nico answering as well. For him, he selected cook the meal. Pero what happens if you're not a good cook like me? I'm a good eater, but I'm not a good cooking person. So I would rather be the one that cleans the house and something that I actually enjoy, right? So I will compromise that. And the other person, in this case, will be Jem. I would rather have her cook the meal because I think she's better at that, and I'm better at the cooking, I guess. So we work with our strengths. That's what I'm gonna say there. But how about you, Belle? Which one would you do?
For me, I mean, cooking and cleaning is like mostly on the same level. But if you do, like, I'm gonna choose cleaning for this one
Oh,
because
it's
at
cooking.
least when you are cleaning, you have the reward already there. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
someone is gonna cook, and then it's there, like it's ready to eat once you're done cleaning, which is more satisfying. I mean, at the end of the day, it's still a process because you still need to wait for the food. But yes, cleaning in terms of this.
Oh, that's true. That's true. And but don't forget, after you eat the food, right? Then you usually still have cleaning to do because you got to clean the dishes. So
Yeah.
that's still on you. But at least you've gotten part of your reward already. Before we continue, Belle, why don't you go ahead and post the next question, which is between this or that, someone would you rather be with someone who leaves dishes everywhere or someone who's too tidy and moves your stuff? Which one would you rather be? Be someone who leaves dishes everywhere or someone who's so tidy that you even moves your stuff? Which one would you, well, which person would you rather be with, right? But
That's
while you're posting that,
tough.
before you answer, let's quickly say hello to our Ohana, our viewers there in live chat. So, of course, we've got a few people tuned in with us right now, but we've got Mario Oka that's tuning in with us saying, happy watching here in the Philippines. Hello to all brethren. Greetings from locale of Brixtonville, district of Caloocan North. He's always here. He's always supporting us. So thank you so much. No, it's a little bit late there. And he actually answered with our kickoff chat. First one, he said, eat food that you didn't choose. So he said he'd choose the movie. He'd rather prefer to wait. No, he'd rather eat the food. He'd rather eat the food that you didn't choose. And then for the second question, he'd rather cook the meals, right? So I saw Kuya Nico as well putting up there that adobo, right? Like cooking the meal is that's the one that Kuya Nico is also selecting, like adobo, like any adobo. And I feel bad for saying this. I don't know how to cook adobo, unfortunately. It's something I like Jim does. Okay, my wife knows how to cook adobo. She knows how to cook many things. I just never learned, and I've always had either Jem or my mom, or other people, I guess, give me adobo. But yeah, I can't say that I'm full Filipino because I don't know how to cook any Filipino dishes except rice. I can cook kanin. I can cook kanin very well, and itlog. I can boil egg and fry
That's
egg.
good.
Yan. So I can survive on kanin and itlog or rice and egg. There you go. But Belle, over to you. Let's do this one. Which one, this or that? Someone who leaves dishes everywhere, or someone who's too tidy and moves your stuff? Which scenario would you rather have?
That's hard, you know. That's hard because they're both really annoying. But like if you are with someone who is too tidy and moves your stuff, you don't know where your stuff is, and then you have to waste time looking for your stuff, and then you get pissed because someone touched your stuff. So yes, maybe I'd rather be with someone who leaves the dishes everywhere because at least you know that they're not gonna touch your stuff, you know. And if like, for example, I mean, I don't know, they're both really annoying. But yes,
You can
I'd
at
rather
least enjoy. You can always ask the person, right? So the good thing is it's nice that somebody's willing to be tidy instead of leaving dishes. And when I say leaving dishes everywhere, like, not even in the sink, like they leave it like just at the table, they leave it in their bedroom, they leave it probably at the bathroom or in the laundry, right? Or some other places. And they just leave dishes everywhere, not even putting it in the sink. So between that, it's nice if we are able to help each other and clean up. But for this little example, I go with the second one, which is someone who's too tidy and even moves your stuff. But at least you can always ask them where your stuff is if you're looking for it. That's my only thing with that is that you can at least ask them where did they put the stuff. And also,
so.
Mario also shared with us here for his one who's too tidy and moves your stuff because at least it stays clean. But overall, it's nice that if we are able to help each other out in that situation, right? Because it's always nice. Like at least if you're gonna eat something, put it in the sink. Help each other with the work and put it in the sink there. And last one, let's do the last kickoff chat before we continue on with our topic discussion. Go ahead, Belle, and let us know what's the last question for our kickoff chat today.
So, would you rather let someone else choose the playlist on a long drive or ride in silence? I feel like this one is really easy for me to pick. So, I'm just going to say it straight away. For me, it's just let someone else choose the playlist on a long drive because I'm not really fussy in that way. And I could just take a nap during the long drive.
Well, if on a long drive, it's always nice to have music playing. So I am
Yeah.
also on that one, which is I'm happy. Like whatever music you want to listen to, right? Like turn on INC radio even, and then have the music playing there. We've got so much different things, but whatever the music is, it's nice that something is playing because I have been on a short drive and there was
Oh,
no music, and it's so awkward. Right? Especially if you have nothing left to talk about, or if you're just tired, it's nice to just be able to sleep. But if it's so quiet, it just seems a bit rude to the driver if you're the one that's sleeping. So having some music playing, having the radio on, having INC radio on, right? It's always nice. So I'm happy to hand that over to somebody else as long as we're not riding in silence because, yeah, I'm already awkward as it is. So when the whole environment is just quiet, it just feels even more weird. So yeah, I would rather let somebody play, set the music. But yeah, there you go. Thank you. Right. So to everyone, that's been our kickoff chat. That's really starting off the conversation about the give and take game. You know, you give something, you take something back and forth with each other, compromises. That's what we're talking about today. But before any of that conversation, again, thank you to everyone for participating. That's been our kickoff chat. So can we have our closing bumper, please?
Our icebreaker is titled Life Transform Survival Kit. You're willing to take up as a
Kickoff chat.
So, Belle, before we get into our topic conversation, we're going to take a quick musical break. So, Belle, why don't you go ahead and introduce the next two songs that we are listening to?
so we will be playing for you. Thank you. And now is the time to shine. Enjoy, and we'll be right back.
Never knowing what lies ahead. Will I make it in this world another day? Oh,
chosen people in these last days. How fortunate we are to have the right to serve our God. He gives us all our needs when we bend our knees and pray. Don't keep this blessing to ourselves. Let's share this blessing with the world.
Don't hold back, don't delay God's goodness, and let's proclaim.
It's a gift that we must share to all people everywhere.
Let's keep on shining brightly as the lights of this world.
Share our faith to every nation, every man upon this earth.
All our loved ones, friends and relatives, let no one be left behind.
Now is the time to share our faith. Now is the time for us to shine.
Afraid to do our part, God will help us fulfill His duty divine. We're so thankful and we're members of the Church of Christ.
Don't keep this blessing to ourselves.
Let's go spread the words of God.
Don't hold back, don't delay God's goodness, let's proclaim.
It's a gift that we must share to all people everywhere.
Let's keep on shining brightly as the lights of this world.
Share our faith to every nation, every man upon this earth.
All our loved ones, friends and relatives, let no one be left behind.
Now is the time to share our faith.
Now is the time for us to shine.
Let's proclaim to all people everywhere. Let's keep on shining brightly as the lights of this world. Share our faith for every nation, every man upon this earth.
All our loved ones, friends and relatives, let no one be left behind.
Now is the time to share our faith.
Now is the time for us to shine. Let's keep on shining brightly as the lights of this world. Share our faith to every nation, every man upon this earth. All our loved ones, friends and relatives, let no one be left behind. Now is the time to share our faith. Now is the time for us to shine. Let's keep on shining brightly as the lights of this world. Share our faith to every nation, every man upon this earth. All our loved ones, friends and relatives, let no one be left behind. Now is the time to share our faith. Now is the time for us to shine.
You're listening to Jay and Bell here on INCRadio's Faith and Melody. And our topic for today, the give and take game. You know, life, it's full of compromises, right? Whether it's in friendships, family, work, or even in everyday decisions. We explore today that art of give and take, of compromising, you know, knowing when to stand firm and when to bend a little, and how to make room for others without losing yourself. So before we get into the deep dive of this conversation about compromises, let's first understand what is what does it mean when you make a compromise, and understand that there's a difference between an unhealthy and a healthy compromise. So for each one of you, and especially with myself and Belle here on the panel, describe compromise in one word, and why did you choose that word? Right. So Belle, over to you first. I'm sure there's a couple of words that come to mind if you had to explain what compromise might mean or might it involve, right? So, what's something for you when it comes to the word compromise?
Well, Jay, for me, when I think about compromise, is one word to describe it is adaptation, because you have to adapt to it, whether you like it or not, unless, of course, you don't want to compromise, and that's entirely on you. But when it comes to compromising, it is adapting to one another, especially if there's like more people involved to it. And also another like another word that I would use, actually it's two words, is mutual satisfaction, because at the end of the day, uh, if both parties have one goal and uh, you get there at the end of the day, then there is a satisfaction to it. It doesn't matter how it happened, but at least you still get the result that you needed from that. But yes, adaptation and mutual satisfaction, Jay.
No, that's
But what about you? What are other ways for you to describe
um,
compromising?
for the word compromise, like, kind of just like what the title of our topic is, it's give and take, right? It requires generally two individuals, but sometimes you do make compromises within yourself, right? Like you have to compromise some of your own values or some of your own things to grow or to move forward, perhaps. But overall, one of the words that I would choose would be, I've got a couple here that I've actually written down just to make sure that I haven't forgotten, but one of them would be peace, right? Peace, finding peace, or having that peace between the two parties is involved when you're making a compromise. That's generally one of the goals that should be set when you're wanting to compromise in a situation, is that you're trying to find peace between two parties. Another one that comes to mind there is kind of aligns with peace. It's balance, right? You need to have peace. You need to have balance between what both people like, what both people are wanting, and trying to find that middle ground between them. So, peace and balance definitely come to mind when you're talking about compromise, right? When you make a compromise, you're trying to achieve, there's usually something that is a disagreement between people, and you're just trying to find balance and peace, trying to find that middle ground so that both parties can come out in the end, the whole win-win situation, right? Everyone talks about how you try to aim for win-win. So you're always trying to find to a way so that both parties can come through happy and stronger, and they are able to reconcile, right, with their whatever that they're arguing about. So that's another one there. Any other word that come to mind for you, Belle?
Um, since you mentioned balance, I feel like there is something that needs to be like, yeah, it needs to be balanced, but sometimes 50% of someone looks different from the other one, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm making myself clear, but for example, I don't know how to say it. I have I have 10 chicken nuggets, and I think that's the easiest, the easiest way for me to to put into words. So I have 10 chicken nuggets, and the other party has 4 chicken nuggets. If we say, oh, we need to put our 50% like aside for something, then of course the other party will have to have like only two after they give their 50%, and I would have still another five. So if you can see, it's still two different 50% depending on each person involved, right? So when it comes to balance, I feel like it needs to be balanced in a way where you feel like you're not giving too much as well. Because, for example, if you only had 4 chicken nuggets, kawawa naman. Like,
Kawawa.
I'm sorry. I don't know how to say it, but like, then you're just gonna have two, right? And then, of course, the other party will have more. So depending on that, then you have to establish like certain, certain limits as well on how much you want to give out, because you don't want to be. How do you say kawawa in English?
Um, I don't know. Kawawa, like kawawa. Nico, how do you say kawawa? What's that in English? I'm not sure,
Like
but it's kind of like when
pitiful?
you kind of feel sorry, I guess,
Yeah,
or
like pitiful. Like you don't want to be
pitiful.
pitiful, right? So,
Yeah.
you want to be beautiful. Okay, enough of the jokes, but in terms of like in a serious note, yeah, like in terms of balance, there, yeah, it's quite tricky in terms of that, Jay. So yes, it really depends on the two people involved, or like on the parties involved in terms of that. So yes, I don't know if I have any other words for compromise, but I feel like I really had to go deep into that balance type of thing. But I also agree with you in terms of peace, because that's why you are compromising, so that
Hmm.
there is peace, there is a solution, and there is, how to call it, there is a greater understanding of the situation in a way where you don't want to upset one another, right? So you're trying your best to make it work. So I also agree with that, Jay. It is.
And the thing as well that you added there, is like part of all of that, and I love the chicken nuggets math equation example thing that you could probably apply to other scenarios, right? Like not specifically about chicken nuggets, but kind of like that whole thing, negotiation. You need to negotiate, right, between each other. And the whole thing about give and take, the whole thing about compromise, it's usually with another person most of the time. Kuya Nico's also adding here a few words. We're gonna try our best to, because I think it makes sense. Kasunduan, right? Which I think, what's kasunduan? How would you say that in English? Kasunduan is
Agreement.
like, sorry?
Agreement.
Agreement, yes, like for both parties to agree. Give and take is generally between two parties, two people, right? There's like that give and take that's required. And so part of that is negotiating. In Bell's example earlier, like the amount of chicken nuggets, right? But whatever the environment or the situation is, you're negotiating something, you're trying to make a choice, you're trying to understand each other's point of view, right? They're probably thinking of something and they've got a certain perspective on the situation, and you're trying to understand them, you're trying to empathize. I think empathy is also part of compromise so that you can understand each other. And overall, you're trying to find balance, you're trying to find peace, you're trying to negotiate, you're trying to adapt to the situation, have mutual satisfaction, and make the right choice, make the best choice for each party involved. That's overall the gist of what you're trying, what we should be trying to accomplish when we are compromising on a situation when two things aren't aligning, or two things are two different opinions, two different perspectives on the situation, right? Generally, that helps you to build stronger relationships, if you are able to understand the other person and work towards a solution that benefits both parties. Would you agree with that, Belle? I think that's pretty much kind of like why we need to know how to compromise in a way where both parties come to a nice agreement. They're both happy with the decision. They're both at peace. Everything is balanced. They've all negotiated, and everyone is happy with the negotiations, right? So that's kind of like in a nutshell what compromising is, right? And just
Yes.
remembering that we're trying to make everything peaceful. So there's a lot of things involved. There's a lot of things involved when you're trying to compromise, when you're trying, this comes in different situations again. You could be compromising with something to do with your friends, right? In friendships, in the relationships that you have. It could be with your family, right? Maybe what you're going to have for dinner, where you're going to go for your next family vacation, right? Who's gonna host the next birthday party, work, or even just in everyday little situations. You have to learn the skills, and you have to be careful on how you compromise when you are working with other people and the other point of views. So with that, the next thing that we want to ask, when does compromising, when does the whole give and take game of like how much I give you, how much you take, and so forth, that whole game of give and take, when does it feel more like you're giving in too much? That perhaps you're well, not trespassing, but you're more overstepping your boundaries, you're overstepping like what's important to you, and you're losing kind of like what is most valuable to you. Like when does compromising feel like it's going in that direction? Like you're giving too much to the situation. Belle, why don't you start first?
Well, for me, it's when the other party doesn't try to meet you in the middle. Or if they do it in a way that is just hesitant, or they don't really try their best to meet you in the middle. Because one thing is doing something and say, oh yeah, I tried. Like, for example, you are trying to um you are trying to do a, I don't know, for example, in sports, volleyball, let's say, you're trying to serve the ball, like do a jump float, something like that, and you can get it over the net. One thing is just trying, like just once, sloppily, and then say, "Oh yeah, I tried." And one another thing is striving for it, like trying to get that ball over the net, like, you know, there are ways to say, oh yeah, I've tried, but then you've only tried once, or if you tried it, you didn't really put all of your effort into it, or enough effort into it. And I feel like that's when I feel like I'm giving too much, because you've tried your best, you already met the needs, or you are trying to make that thing work. um you're doing your best to make that thing work, and you're doing it consistently, whereas the other party is just doing it like sometimes, or if they do it, it's like half-hearted, right? So that's why it's just it feels like you're giving in too much, and sometimes they're not really willing to do that effort or willing to do that sacrifice to meet your needs or for your needs. So that's why when it comes to compromising, uh, it's really good to establish like the boundaries that you need, and the how to call it, like negotiating, your the I don't know how to say it, not the rules, but like the settings into it, if you know what I mean. Um, because it's all about balance. But if you're doing your part and they feel satisfied about it, and they do their part, but you still don't feel satisfied, then of course there's an imbalance in that. And you need to communicate that with the other party. And sometimes for me, it feels like I'm giving too much when I'm always the one having to prompt it. I have to think about it and I act on it. And if they wanted to, they would as well, because when I wanted, I did and I delivered. So it feels like in this give and take, you need to like have something, but it's not something transactional, because if it's transactional, it's just purely just a contract, just an agreement on paper, of course. But if it's more than that, if it's a matter, a personal matter, or a matter that is not really, it's not about a material or physical thing that you're trying to get, then of course you show that you care because you did your part, but you also want to feel like you're cared for. And if they're not meeting that uh, that need of yours, then of course you're gonna feel like you're giving in too much. And yes, that's why I feel like there are certain moments for me that I give too much. But Jay, I feel like when it comes to these stuff, that's why it's really important to talk it out. But yes, what about you, Jay? Is there any instance that you felt like that or related to it that perhaps?
I mean, definitely I agree with what you said early, towards the end there, where it's important that we talk it out, right? Especially if it's a misunderstanding or a disagreement, or you're trying to work towards a goal, right? If you're working on a project or you're working towards a goal, there's always going to be some friction sometimes when you are not communicating. I think one of the other things that when it comes about compromising, communication is very, very important. And if, let's say, you don't communicate what's important to you, you don't communicate your expectations, you don't communicate your, what you're feeling or what, like the result that it's putting on you or the stress that it's putting on you or anything like that. If there's a lack of communication in the situation, then compromising feels like you're getting taken advantage of because the other person doesn't know. And the thing is, we have to remember we're not mind readers, right? As much as we know perhaps the person that we're talking to, they might be our boss, they might be our friend or a family member. We need to know like what makes them happy or like in the situation what's going to make them unhappy so that we can work towards peace, balance, right? We can negotiate, we can talk it out. That's what's very important, because if the result of it leaves you feeling resentful, or maybe your needs ignored, your values, the thing that's important to you is being set aside and ignored, or even it compromises the boundaries that you've set for yourself. It compromises your beliefs, right? That's always going to make it feel like you're getting taken advantage of. And then at the end of that, you're going to feel resentful towards the outcome, maybe towards the other person. And perhaps the thing that was missing in that whole equation is proper, open, honest, transparent communication with each other. Right. So that's why it's very important that we communicate, especially if there is a misunderstanding or a disagreement. Communication, we need to talk it out. We need to speak with each other, let them know what, like, kind of like what you're expecting, where the areas of gaps are, and things like that. So you can work together and you can build a stronger bond or relationship. So that's kind of like you have to be careful, right? Because at the end of the day, compromising is all about making sure that everyone is happy and everyone can come to an agreement to find balance with the situation. So with that, I just want to quickly go ahead and give a quick shout out. We've got a couple of insights here from our Ohana, our viewers that's tuning in with us at the moment. Firstly, want to say hello to Zenaida Novestera, saying hello to us. Uh, he's saying hello, Ohana. Greetings from Midtown Toronto, district of Greater Toronto. So thank you for tuning in with us on this. I believe it's Monday afternoon there, Monday morning, I think, over there in Canada. But we've also got a reply here, and we've got an insight shared here from one of our viewers, Anna uh, Hime Himebauch. Hopefully I pronounced that. But Anna shares here with us saying that it's a very good discussion, and their thoughts is compromise is a 100% give and take. 50-50 doesn't work. You must give it your all. That way, everything is included. Who knows what part of 50% you should give? That's a very interesting point of view, right? When you compromise, it's still 100% give and take. Like you're giving, you're taking, you're sharing, you're working together. I think that's how I understand it, right? But it's very true that it's very hard to know what 50% is of the other person. Kind of like how Belle said earlier about the chicken nuggets example. Like, how do you know how many chicken nuggets the other person has? Very, very funny example, but I like that. And also, Anna shares with us, she's happy viewing from the locale of Orossi, Central Valley, California, Orosi in California. So thank you so much for tuning in and sharing your insights with us there. Really, really appreciate it. But we do have another part just before we wrap up this part of this conversation about the give and take compromise topic. Share with us a time that you felt proud of a compromise that you made. Many of us have had our own experiences where we've had to compromise on something, maybe with a friend, a co-worker, your boss, a family member. If you're a family person, maybe with your spouse or your children. Sometimes you compromise screen time and you work out an agreement between them. It's like, okay, you can have this much screen time, but you have to do your homework first, right? And those little things. So, what's a time when you compromised? And you are proud of the result of that compromise. And sometimes compromises, as we said earlier, can be an internal negotiation. It happens within you, gets you to step out of your comfort zone to grow, right? Compromising on something to go, let me try something else. I've been doing it this way all my life. Let me try something else and see if that changes it, right? So that's kind of like a negotiation, kind of in a way, stepping out of your comfort zone and compromising. But Belle, what's a time that you did this, and then the result you were proud of the result that happened afterwards?
Well, for me, it's um, the language barrier that I have here in the UK because I was born and raised in Italy. So, of course, Italian uh, was my most spoken language and it was my mother tongue language, of course. And, um, you know, um, speaking in a different language at the beginning feels really, really hard work, a lot of hard work because you're trying to wire your brain to speaking that language like automatically to people because if you are born or we're living in a different city or country for so long, then of course you are wired to speak another language, like that language in that country, right? So for me, speaking English um, has been a really like big compromise because of course it was not my most spoken language. Well, now it is because I mean I live here in the UK, so I have to. But I'm really proud of it because at first I wasn't feeling as confident. I mean, writing down like texting or like messaging people or emailing people, then that's easier because you can just write it down. But when it comes to speaking in person, of course you have to pick up their ways of speaking, their accent, and sometimes there are certain ways to say stuff, Jay. So um it feels like this compromise that I've done every day up until now. I'm still doing it. It's a great has gotten a great result because I've grown more fluent in speaking English and I feel more confident in speaking English. And yes, now I really speak it a lot. Even at home, we speak three languages. So yes,
Three
um,
languages
yes,
at home.
yes.
Well, it's that comes what comes to mind for me when you mention that. It's kind of similar to like somebody moving from one country to another and having to learn the road rules, for example, right? Perhaps you're driving on the opposite. You need to drive on the opposite side of the road, and you need to learn new traffic signals and laws and all of these things that you can't just force to do what it is. You need to work with the situation. You need to work with where you're at. Otherwise, accidents can happen, right? So that's very, very true. Like when you're put into a situation, you need to compromise certain things. The thing that comes to mind for me is like having to learn a new software program to edit because you know how when you get used and accustomed to something, sometimes you learn and you're seeing this new different type of um, upgrade over here, like something totally different, but you're wondering, I don't know if I really want to jump over and start learning something new because I'm comfortable with this one. So for me, this came in the form of video editing since I do quite a bit of it, and then having to learn and go, yeah, moving up and trying to try out a new video editing program, and then finding out like when I compromised on that is like instead of sticking onto this one thing, I realized, wow, this other one is actually faster. It's actually more efficient. It's actually quite easy to use, and the learning the skill what is it the learning curve to learn it was actually not as steep as I thought, and overall it actually increased my productivity. So overall when it comes to compromising, you want to make sure that both parties are satisfied. And in this case, I was hesitant, but then I was satisfied. I was pleased that I made that little decision to change over. And I think that works well when you're working with other things. One that comes to mind that happened recently was where to go for a holiday, like a little short getaway. I know, like, there's a lot of holidays going around, especially around the middle, like around this month. There's a lot of public holidays, and it's like, oh, where do we want to go for the family holiday? Just a short getaway, and making the choice there. Sometimes, the husband and the wife, they need to talk it out and make a compromise on what each one person wants to go shopping, the other person wants to go and just relax, kind of like, finding the right place where you can sort of do both. So compromising overall needs to make sure that it respects what both people want and what they both need, and you come to an agreement so that you can work together, right? Like it's 100% effort between both parties to work together to meet those needs. So it's important that communication is there, and kind of like what Bell said when we were talking about a word that describes compromise, you need to adapt. We all need to be adaptable with the situation to take care of what each other need. And with that, actually, we've got a comment here from Anna again that's shared with us. When compromise gains, let me read this again. Sorry, I lost it. When compromise gains acknowledgement and respect, you know it's working and it feels great. I like that. That reminder that it needs to be acknowledged, right? Acknowledgement and respect. You need those two things so that it works, so that it also makes both parties feel happy. Like I'm acknowledging, for example, in that holiday short getaway situation, I'm acknowledging what my wife wanted, which was to do some shopping. And then she acknowledged what I wanted, which is to be in a place where I could relax. And with that, we came to a solution, and then we worked together to make it happen. And we were both happy. Everybody was relaxed. She had her time to go shopping, right? Everything worked out great. And it felt like we accomplished something together, right? It's about working together. So there you go. So that's a time when we can all make sure when we're compromising, we're trying to make sure that we are happy, we are at peace, we respect each other, and we come to a happy situation, happy end result with whatever it is that we're compromising on. And yeah, there you go. Before we continue on with the rest of our discussion, when we come back from the break, we're going to talk about how we can have our everyday moments where we can share and compromise on things. And yeah, we can share a couple of little life examples in that case. But before that, Belle, again, why don't you go ahead? I'll pass it over to you and introduce the next two songs that we'll be listening to.
So we will be playing for you The Greatness of Your Love and With Hope. We hope that you've enjoyed this first part of our topic discussion, and we'll be right back.
Never will I let go of loyalty. Never will I let go of my faith. Never will I rely on what a man knows. I will depend on you, Lord. teach me your words I need. That every time, Lord, can it be always remember the greatness of your love. Never will I think I am wiser than I am. Humble heart, I will obey. I'll pay close attention when you correct me. I will follow wherever you lead me, because you know what's best for me. Father, guide me on the path to salvation. Show me the solution when I am lost and in confusion. Remind me, teach me your words I need. Not every time, Lord, can it be always remember the greatness of your love. The greatness of your love. The greatness of your love. Father, the greatness of your love. Never will I ever want away. Never will I ever want away. And you I will never be away. And you I will never be away. For I can go on alone. You know it's true. Yes, I'll remain with you. I'll remain with you. Father, guide me on the path to salvation. Show me the solution when I am lost and in confusion. Remind me, teach me your words I need. And let every time, Lord God, let me always recall the greatness of your love. 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 The greatness of your Looks like these gray clouds are here to stay. Even if I sing, rain, rain, go away, the storm only worsens day by day. I wonder what else will come our way. But it's exactly how we've been told. This ain't a reason for us to lose hope. There is a way for us to cope. There is a way for us to live with hope. When life is heavy and dark to take, I kneel down and bow my head to pray. go through change, and the things we experience quite strange. Although it's normal to feel afraid, with hope I know I can be brave. When life is heavy and hard to take, I kneel down and know my hand to pray. I don't ask questions, my heart just says, thank you, Lord God, with hope I wait. With hope I pray. With hope I wait for better days. With hope I pray. Thank you, Lord God, with hope I wait. I hold on with hope. With my faith, I do not let go. With love, I live in His place. With hope, I smile and wait for better days. When life is heavy and hard to take, I kneel down and bow my head to pray. I don't ask questions, my heart just says, thank you, Lord God, with hope I wait. With hope I pray. With hope I wait for better days. With hope I pray. Thank you, Lord God, with hope I wait.
This is INC Radio, DCEM 954, the voice of truth, the official radio station of the Church of Christ or Iglesia ni Cristo.
Αγαπώ το INC Radio διότι με κάνει να ξεχνώ τα προβλήματά μου και με κάνει χαρούμενη.
INCRadio uydu stüdyosunu seviyorum. Çünkü izlerken ve dinlerken bize bilgi ve ilham verici bir değer sağlıyor.
E amo INCRadio perché mi permette di conoscere tanti fratelli in tutto il mondo.
Ik hou van INC Radio omdat ik dan inspirerende lessen hoor.
Hi there. I love INC Radio because it helps me communicate and reach out, be able to talk to people who I might not have been able to previously. It lets me have that connection with people, it lets me be able to conversate with people, it lets me report on different things. And most especially, it's actually quite fun.
We started off our topic in a really kind of deep way, you know? So let's go on to a lighter mood. So what's the funniest or most minor thing that, you know, you find yourself compromising on? It can be the most silliest thing or the most mundane thing. Do you have anything to share, Jay?
I have a couple of things. I have two to share. One's a bit more on the funny side, and one's a little bit more on the serious side. So I'll start with the funny one first, and it has to do with me. Generally, I run hot as a person. I'm always very, very warm. Like even when it's cold, like we're going towards winter, it's getting colder during the evenings, but I'm always still very, very hot. So I've always got the electric fan. What's that in Tagalog? Ventilador. I always got the ventilador on, the electric fan, the temperature is always on. And Jem is the opposite, right? My wife, Jem, she's always generally very cold. She could be wearing like 4 layers, a jumper, a hoodie, a cap, and everything, and she's still cold. And I've got the electric fan on there, and I'm just like t-shirt and shorts, and it's like, can we turn that off? So with that, that's one thing that I find myself regularly compromising on. For the sake of peace, sometimes you have to sacrifice. It's part of compromising, is that sometimes there's some sacrifice involved. And for that, it's the electric fan for me. So, because even if the electric fan is not pointed at her, just feeling the air in the room already makes it feel cold. So compromise on that. And that's something that I just have to bear with, and just try to stay cool, because she's just always really cold all the time. The other one that's a little bit more serious, before I pass it over to you, Belle, got to do with volume, with music, right? Well, actually, not just music, but anything to do with videos or audio. We always need to turn the volume down. So, as some of you might know, that our daughter Lena, she one of her challenges is sensory. One of her sensory challenges is got to do with audio, with music, right? Or with sound in general. She just likes it to be in a more quieter environment, or she only wants her music playing. She doesn't want mommy and daddy talking. She doesn't want us playing our own videos or playing our own songs or music or anything like that. So to cater for her sensory needs, right? We have to keep everything very low, and that's why we usually just watch on our own separate device and not have it on the big screen or on the big TV, or turn up the volume, because Lena just has sensory needs with her auditory, right? So we just have to be careful for that, sacrifice, negotiate a little bit, I guess, and just like work a way around it, because that's one of those things where she can't change that, right? Like we work on it and we try to work on it, but right now, that's a sensory need that is inherent to to her being autistic. It's like you can't do anything about that. So just to keep the peace, just to find balance, just so that we're not stressed, constantly fighting. It's like, well, you have to listen to this or whatever, right? We just choose to go, okay, we'll just keep it quiet, and we can just watch on our phones or on a tablet or somewhere else, so that it doesn't distract her, doesn't disturb her, doesn't uh, make her sensory needs worse, right? When it comes to audio. So that's one of those things that you have to realize, that if the people that you're working around or you're around, that they might have needs, sometimes they can communicate it and sometimes they may not. But compromising all comes with sacrifices usually, right? You're trying to find balance, you're trying to uh, find peace, right? You're trying to respect each other's needs, right? And sometimes respecting each other's needs might mean you have to make some sacrifices. You might have to turn off the electric fan, even though you're running hot, but your partner's cold, right? You might have to turn down the volume. Otherwise, your daughter's like, sensory needs just going to get overwhelmed. And then you're going to end up in just in a crying fit because she's not getting what she wants. There's some sacrifices involved sometimes when it comes to compromises to keep the peace, to keep the balance. There's that. As long as it's not overstepping towards, like, you're not breaking core values that's very, very important to you, the thing that builds your character, then generally that's okay. That's what I found for me. It's like, as long as it doesn't tread on any boundaries or core values for myself that I've set for myself and as a Christian, then that's just something little and kind of funny to compromise on. And it's just like, you got to keep the peace sometimes, and sacrifices is a part of that. How about you, Belle? let's hear something from you now. Oh, actually, sorry. Before you say areas where you find minor things that you often find yourself compromising on, just want to give a quick shout out. We've got Rod Kahayag there with us, saying hello to us there in our live chat, saying hello to myself, saying hello to Belle. But he also shared here that another similarity between Rod and I, and Sister Chriselle, he says, is the same way. Rod is usually the one that's running temperaturely hot, and Chriselle is usually cold. So it's kind of like Jem and I. And Rod also added, when we're in the car, my side has the AC on, and Chriselle's side is on the heater. We haven't had that yet. But, oh, actually, yes. we usually run with the AC on, during winter. Uh, we have heated seats. So Jem's
Oh.
got heating on her seat turned on, and I've got the AC facing me. So that's kind of like that little compromise. It's nice if you're able to have that opportunity to have separate temperature control for the different areas in your car. But yes, enough with that. Belle, over to you. Share something that you find yourself constantly compromising on.
I'm on Ate Gems and um Grisel's side. I get cold easily, so I understand them. I understand their point of view. So I don't know, Jay, how you're able to do AC in the winter in your car. I don't know.
I'm still like sweating in the winter. I still like
Really?
sweat. Not
Maybe
as
it's not
bad
only
as
winter
summer, but
there,
it's
is
still
it?
hot. It's still hot in winter sometimes.
Oh, maybe we have different types of winter. But yes.
Perhaps.
Yes. I feel like yes, maybe it's warmer there for you in Australia, Jay. Well, I'll just have to see. Maybe I have to go there to experience that myself. Um.
Clinic.
Our clinica said. Wait, I just need to read it again. Ako 18 lang, nilalamig na ako. Aw,
Oh, it's
he's
like
18, but
18
he
degrees.
already feels really, really cold at his
Especially right,
age.
because it's always hot in the Philippines. You know, we experienced that, right, Belle? Like we've gotten accustomed, especially during summer. Oh, it's like it's always 28 degrees, 30 degrees, and all of a sudden it drops down to 20, and it feels like you need a jacket because it's so cold.
Yes, because you're not really accustomed to that type
Yeah.
of temperature, right? So when you are like under the sun every day, 24/7, it just feels like it's really cold once it drops even just a few degrees down. But yes, I also would like to share something funny. Me and my sister Ariane, and sometimes at Erica as well. We try to do matching outfits. It's just really funny because when when I find something that is similar to what Ariane is wearing, I try to wear as well. And sometimes we have the same piece. And my compromise there sometimes Ariane asks me like, "Oh, ate, do you wanna match with this type of outfit?" And I'm like, "Oh, but I already imagine an outfit in my head." So I'm like, but then she keeps on going and saying, "Oh, but I felt like doing it today." So of course, like I'm just gonna do it. So that it's just it's just for fun because sometimes people ask us, "Are you guys twins?" But of course, like if they know us it already, then no. But yes, it's just funny. When we're just twinning, and sometimes it's also unexpected. It's even more funny when it's unexpected. But in those moments where I already have something in my head prepared, and either me or my sister ask, "What do you want to match today?" Then I feel like, why not? And certain people also ask, "Oh, why are you always matching?" It's like, why not? It's just a fun thing. It's just really silly, but also a really fun thing to do. And sometimes you all have like the exact same outfit, like the exact same cardigan, like similar jeans and the exact same shoes and the exact same trench coat. It's just really funny because from head to toe we're matching. And since we're siblings, we look alike as well. So it's just it's just funny. We're just pretending to be twins sometimes. But yes, I feel like that's one of the silly things about compromising. Sometimes it's just for the laughs of it. And if you know my sister Ariane, she really laughs a lot. So why not make her laugh even more?
The
But yeah.
thing, you know, in terms of matching outfits, I have to say really quickly, Jem does it sometimes. Like she wants to match our outfits, not just like me and her, but also with Lena. So we'd all be wearing the same colors, and that's a compromise. Sometimes it's a very minor one. It's not nothing major or anything, right? Like, but sometimes the colors aren't really my color. You know how, you know, as you grow up, you end up uh, leaning towards certain colors that you like and that matches you.
Yeah.
Gray and black for me. So but sometimes like Jem, she loves pastel colors. Very light, purple, green, blue, pink, like all of those the light pastel-y kind of colors, and she wants us to match. And it may not be my color, but then, little compromise on that just to make her happy, just to sacrifice, just to respect what she wants as well, right? It all works to keeping the peace, right? Keeping the peace of the relationship. And I guess in a way, trying out new colors for me, because like my wardrobe is generally very, very dark, right? All my clothes are dark. So it's nice to be able to do that, even though it's not what I want to wear, given sometimes, right? Make her happy, and overall, the relationship grows from being able to understand or at least empathize with the other person with what they want, finding that peace, finding that balance. Making it funny is also a nice thing. Like, there's just something funny out of it. But we know not all compromises are as easy as matching outfits, or the temperature in the car, or like in the house. Like one likes it hot, one likes it cold. But sometimes compromises, there are occasions when it's very hard for you to agree, or very hard for you to find that solution. So Belle, over to you first. How do you handle it you and someone else when you and someone else just can't agree or come to a solution or come to a compromise? Like, what do you do when that occasion comes up?
Well, the first thing, when it's just really a severe or a dire situation, the first thing that I do is just I really pray about it, because you want to feel at peace, when you're trying to handle an agreement, right? Especially with the other person. It's just really important to, always try to find peace between the two parties. But for me, like I try to accept having the different opinions, and you need to understand that each person comes from different backgrounds, from different cultures. So you need to also take into account their environment around them and why they think that thing uh doesn't match with what you think as well. So you need to realize that as well, that you don't have to be the same person, or like you don't have to have so much in common to I'm sorry. I'm just I'm just trying to make my point here. But sometimes even when you are similar to one another, you can still find a disagreement. It doesn't matter how similar you are, you can still find a disagreement. So it doesn't matter how much similar you are, how much similar you think, but there are certain times where you can still find yourself in a disagreement, and that's where you need to try to be more understanding, especially if you care about the other person. And the thing is, you also need to feel at peace, and the other person as well. So of course, like that's why I said earlier, I really pray about it, because it's just you want to feel lighthearted, right? Like you don't want to have a heavy heart whenever you see that person, and you want to make things right. So maybe if you are able to let go of certain things, then the other person can enjoy a bit, like what you mentioned, Jay, about the color scheme that you'd rather wear. And at the end of the day, it's about the little joys in life that it makes it much more livelier. It's the little joys that build up over time and make the situation much more bearable as well, depending on the situation. And you know, it's good also to have different points of view, and it can also make yourself be more open to new perspectives or options, because sometimes we are so stuck in our own ways that we think that, oh, this is it, this is me, you take it or leave it. But it doesn't really work like that. You only say that if you're not willing to change. not only for them but also for yourself. So if you're not able to do that, then maybe you need to accept it as well, that it just won't work in that scenario. But also, when you have the same mindset with everything, how can you grow? You need to be able to have different perspectives, a fresh perspective as well, fresh thoughts, a fresh mindset as well. Maybe not for everything, but for certain things you have to. Like you mentioned about the editing, right, Jay? It's something that it's always ongoing, always growing. On social media, you can see a lot of different styles of editing. There's trending edits, right? So I understand that in that case, you really have to step up your game. So it's good that you were able to get out of your comfort zone in terms of that, Jay. And you know, as a fellow editor, I also I also relate to that because it's true. You need to be able to keep up, and that's why I said at the beginning, in terms of compromise, that's adaptation for me, because it's not only trying to reach one goal, it's trying to reach many goals together. And if you are two different people, then you really have to work it out. And uh, that's why it's just, you don't have to be the same person to want to be with that person or wanting to have that person around you. You can be different or the same in different ways, but at the end of the day, for me, is just being true to your core values and principles, because you can accept having different points of views of like different matters, different subjects, except for our core values. For example, our faith. I can disagree with you with anything, almost anything, except for my faith. So if the people around me aren't helping me building my faith stronger in a positive way, then how can I grow, spiritually and as a person as well? I need to have someone that is able to, relate to me as well. And as a Christian, as member of the Church of Christ, it's just really important. I'm not saying that it's bad to have friends that are not of your same faith, because that also comes a compromise, right? Of trying to respect one another. But in terms of handling it with people who have your same faith, then it's easier for you to handle the situation, right, Jay? Because you're on the same page when it comes to spiritual matters. But yes, that's the only non-negotiable thing that I wouldn't want to disagree with my loved ones who are also inside the church.
It's the core values, right? Like we might have
Yes.
different mindsets when it comes to like how we approach work, how we approach relationships, but the core values that we have, if we have the same core values, if we have the same, faith, for example, we uphold the same things that we're that's kind of like what forms our character. And it makes it easier for us to come to an agreement, a conclusion. We're always like, especially for example, for Christians or members of the Church of Christ, one of our core values is that we're always trying to live in peace, right? We've got that whole, the this the brotherhood that we uphold as members of the Church of Christ, and everything else that comes with it. When there are friction, then there are misunderstandings. It's all about trying to work it out, trying to communicate, and trying to express it. I like what you said earlier as well, because I agree with that. Like you might be talking to another person, and they might have like different mindset, but your core values are the same. But you have to remember that you're two different people, right? You could be friends from a long time ago. You could be workmates that you've been working together for like 3 years, or family members, whatever it is, right? That you might have grown up together, but you're still your own person. You still have your own different interests and hobbies, and sometimes perspectives, right? Point of view. Because generally, even when it comes to that, you wouldn't have experienced exactly the same thing. You wouldn't have seen it in exactly the same way, right? So there's always differences to each and every one of us. So we have to remember that we're not mind readers. We can't expect the other person to respond or react in the way that we want. So when we're working towards, and if you can't come to an agreement, you have to realize one person has one point of view. You have one point of view, right? They have one way that they want. You have a different way that you want, even though you're working towards the same thing. But sometimes you don't realize that there might be a third option or a third solution to achieve the goal that you're working towards, right? So you got to look for that third option and choosing as well if the possible right in the relationship or from the argument, like choosing like is it worth it to actually make this such a big deal, or does the disagreement, does it really matter this much that it might form a rift in our friendship? So you gotta just remember that, like, is it worth, harming the relationship if we continue pushing what I want or what you want? There might be a third option. That's where a compromise is, the middle ground, right, between the two. And again, like what Belle mentioned, as long as it doesn't impact or compromise our core values, especially as Christians, then it's okay, as long as it doesn't compromise on that, because that's the only thing that we know we don't compromise on, is that boundary or the core values that we uphold as a person, but also as a Christian. So we just have to make sure that we remember that. And with that, before we continue on the whole talk about compromising and making sure that we don't cross that boundary, we don't compromise in an extent that we're going to lose or break our core values or who we are, we're going to talk about that more in the next part of our discussion. But before that, let me just quickly read this comment. This is actually from Rod, who came up, he's always giving us his acronyms, and his acronym for the word compromise that he's got here for us. Compromise, his acronym here: cool on making positive, right, optimistic, mindful, inspired expression. That's a hard word, but well done on that for coming up with that acronym. But we are going to continue our next part of our conversation after this musical break. The next song that we'll be listening to one song, which is titled Make Everything Right, and then we'll be right back. So don't go anywhere. We'll continue our discussion after this.
If I could turn back time, I'd take back every lie. I lived like I had every tomorrow, but I was only fooling myself. Oh, I know my mistakes are irreversible, but I know that you, Lord, are merciful. So I'm begging you, my Lord, take me back. Please hear my cry. Father, please don't leave my side. Who was I to lay it all on the line? Now I'm letting go all of my pride. To you I pray, I'm not gonna hide. I'm coming clean in your holy sight. My life I renewed, please bring me back to you. Lord God, please forgive me like you do. Make everything right. Oh, oh, repent for the sins that I've done. No, now I've changed my ways. Please believe me, oh, I return to you so humbled. Before you, Father, I crumble. Still I'm begging you, oh my Lord, take me back. Please hear my cry. Father, please don't leave my side. Who was I to lay it all on the line? Now I'm letting go of all of my pride. To you I pray, I'm not gonna hide. I'm coming clean in your holy sight. My life I've renewed, please bring me back to you. Oh God, please forgive me like you do. Oh, I can't stand on my own. Oh, I'm nothing without you. Your love is all I need for me to be complete. Lord God Almighty, you are my life. That's why I'm begging you, oh my Lord, take me back. Please hear my cry. Father, please don't leave my side. Who was I to lay on the line? Now I'm letting go of all of my pride. To you I pray, I'm not gonna hide. I'm coming clean in your holy sight. My life I've renewed, please bring me back to you. God, please forgive me like you do. Make everything right. Oh,
Welcome back, everyone, to Faith and Melody. And this is Jay and Belle here on the panel. We've been talking about the give and take game, compromise. The game that we all play, we all do it with our friends, our family, our loved ones, our co-workers, our boss perhaps. We're trying to compromise and come to a peaceful agreement solution that respects and acknowledges both parties' needs in general, right? So in this final part of our conversation, we're going to talk about how we can compromise without losing who we are, without breaking our values or losing ourselves. So, Belle, over to you first. And of course, to our Hana who might be tuning in, our live viewers, you can share with us your thoughts there in our YouTube live chat. How do you stay true to your values, to your values as a person, to your values as a member of the Church of Christ? How do you stay true to your values while still being open to compromise? Because compromise also involves adapting and sacrificing, but you don't want to sacrifice and give in too much that it breaks, or it oversteps your values and your boundaries that you've set. So how do you do that, Belle?
Well, I communicate what my values are, what's important to me, what's non-negotiable. And as I mentioned earlier, it's my faith, most especially the teachings of Almighty God. And, when it comes to that, there's some other people that don't have the same faith as you, have different perspectives of you, and they have certain expectations from you. So, for example, they are so accustomed to doing certain things that might be against the Bible. So that's how, I communicate to them that I just I can't do those certain things because of my faith. And for my faith, of course, I communicate to them in a respectful way. And I don't judge them for what they do, but I also want to be respected as well, in a way where just because you're doing it doesn't mean I have to do it, and vice versa, right? So when it comes to that, then that's where a shift of expectation can happen, like changing their expectations from you, uh, as they can force me to do certain things, and the same thing goes with them. Maybe for me it's something that has been really normalized, but then for them it's something so new. It's something that hasn't been uh like they haven't encountered just yet. So yeah, we just need to put a lot of understanding when it comes to that. And I feel like with all of that put together with understanding and mutual respect as well, and consideration, because maybe they still want to be your friends, like we can still be friends, but like doing different stuff, and that's where the compromise can happen, where you can just do um, different hobbies or certain activities that you can do, right? And it doesn't have to, you you can have fun without doing sin, right? And as Christians, we are the proof of that, right? So, yeah, finding other different fun ways to, spend time with one another, that can be a really good compromise. And for me, staying true to my values really puts me at peace with myself and with our Almighty God. Because when you know that you are doing something right and you've done your part already, you feel at peace, right? Because you know that it doesn't matter if that other party or like the other people around you are not doing their part, because at the end of the day you did your part and you prayed to God and you rely onto Him into doing the rest, right, Jay? So when it comes to that, yeah, that's how I stay true to my values. It's just constant, uh, constant prayer, of course, and then communicating in an honest and respectful way, as well as, you know, always reminding yourself what your core values are, because sometimes we get so accustomed with um, what's around us, our environment, our culture around us, that we might also tend to forget. So, also reminding ourselves what we truly cherish, then that can also make us more firmer in our faith. But
I,
yes.
I remember, Belle, for me, one of the first that comes to mind, the first memory that comes to mind when my values was getting stepped on, and the compromise wasn't leading towards, like, me staying true to my values, is like when I was in school, when I was a lot younger, and I was still very, very young, so that I didn't really know how to stand up for myself, right? But the thing is, what my parents taught me is that if anything, any activities, anyone kind of like invites you to certain, the good thing is that we're taught, especially from a very young age, the values that we uphold as Christians, and kind of like we may not be comfortable at saying no or like standing our ground, but we're taught how to do it, right? And I know that for me, it was a very hard, it was a very difficult occasion when I had to say, oh, I can't do that, because I was a very shy person. I wasn't very outspoken. I was very, very, shy to myself, and I was always avoiding anything that would be considered like, oh, I'm talking back. You don't want to talk back. But when you're kind of like trying to set your boundaries, trying to express, I like what you said, like it's important to communicate your values to the other person. Like that was harder when I was younger, especially when I was still in, like, primary school, and then they would do activities that we don't follow, that we don't believe in, and then we just have to say, oh, I can't do that, it's against my faith, right? It was, it's simple words to say, but as a little, 7-year old that had very bad English at the time when I first came to Australia, it's like, oh, how do I say this, and whatever else. But it's nice when people can respect that, It's nice when people can respect, your beliefs, they can respect your values. It's nice when everything works out like that, right? And the thing is, it's great that the parents are the first ones to kind of like instill that mentality and instill kind of like start passing on that confidence to the children, which for us at the time we were children, right? So that's very, very important, and you develop that as you grow. You continually go through life, right? There's always going to be times when there are certain simple minor compromises that might be funny and doesn't really account for much, but then there might be other certain things that comes where compromising might overstep your values. So you always have to check in with, why is that your values? Why do you follow that? Why is that part of your character, right? Why is it something that you've set a boundary on and say, hey, I'm not going to go past this activity. I'm not going to go past this line. I'm not going to go past and breaking this. And then you're expressing that to someone. So open, honest communication is very, very important. It's part of the whole negotiation thing, right? Part of compromise is negotiating, acknowledging, right? Respecting the point of view of others. And in turn, they should also respect your point of view. And in terms of acknowledging and coming to a balance and a peaceful agreement, it's like what works best for both parties without, overstepping each other's values that's needed there. So that's the thing. Whatever it is, we know where we stand for when it comes to our values, that we don't compromise on that. We don't compromise on our faith. We don't compromise on our membership. We don't overstep on the things that we can't do, or we can't take part of, or that we can't join in, because we're members of the Church of Christ. And that's not something to be like, you say so quietly. It's like, oh, I'm a member. I'm a member of the Church of Christ. You say it proudly, right? You stand up for it, and that's something that is who you are. That's a part of you, and that's something that you never compromise on. So with that, I think we kind of like alluded to it, but just to wrap this up, and when it comes to compromising, sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's hard. So Belle, and to our viewers, what do you think makes compromising easier or harder when it comes to relationships with anyone that we deal with? Over to you, Belle, first.
Well, it's easier when you are both on the same page, and that's easier because you both want the same thing. But for me, when it comes to something that I'm gonna make another example.
Another chicken nugget example.
That's how it works for me. Like, it's easier for me to explain it when it comes to that. But yes, for example, I say that I only like this type of chicken nugget, this only type of chicken nugget, and you know it, Jay, you know it. But for you, it's no big deal. Everything else, every other chicken nugget is just the same as the one that I just mentioned. So, like, you give me you give me just anything else except for the one that I told you that I wanted, and I've only like regarded as the one that I want. So yes, what do you think would happen in that scenario? I would kind of feel upset because it feels like you didn't listen to me, and you would feel upset as well because you feel like that generous act that you did for me wasn't appreciated, right, Jay? So in that case, it's just tricky because I communicated like my needs and you try to meet them, but then yeah, it's just different. So when it comes to that, when it comes to compromising for something that you don't really, it's not really a big deal for you, you need to remember that just because it's not a big deal for you, it doesn't mean that it's not a big deal for them either, because for them maybe it's important. It doesn't matter how small or silly that matter is, but for them it's important. And if they communicated that to you, and you do something that is completely the opposite of what they said that like they liked or even wanted, then I feel like maybe you are trying to get into a misunderstanding because the other party communicated that, right? And unless you communicate that, oh, I can't give you this, but then I can give you this, then that's a different that's a different perspective because you communicated that you can't do this certain thing. But at the same time, you know also how much that thing is important to the other, type of chicken nugget is really important to that other person. So yes, when it comes to that, it's just easier if you both like, if you understand that the other person really cares about that one thing. And if you don't really care about it, then why make your life more difficult and try to get into like a misunderstanding when you can just, let them be, like let them have their quirks, let them have that specific type of chicken nugget, you know like what you mentioned, Jay. It's just a really good analogy about the outfit thing because maybe, maybe it's not a really big deal. Oh yeah, matching outfits is not a really big deal, but maybe for Jem it is. And um I'm sorry. And and the fact that you still gave it a shot, you still gave it a chance to, to make it happen. It resulted in a really happy moment, right? It's in the small joys of life that, makes life more happy, more fun. But yes, uh with that point being, if it doesn't really affect you, then there's no need to be so difficult about it. If you know that the other person likes one thing or doesn't like one thing and it doesn't affect you, then you should just acknowledge that they like that certain thing. You should acknowledge their passion. But yes, I feel like that's just one thing to make things easier when it comes to compromising. But also, it's hard when you both are trying to do the same thing but in different ways. For example, another example with food, fries. Okay, with fries, French fries, you can have different sauces or no sauce at all. For example, you like this, you like ketchup, and the other party likes barbecue sauce. Okay, and yes, you both debate about it. Oh no, this is better. Oh no, this other one is better. Oh, I like it more sweet. Oh no, I like it more salty. Oh, I like, yeah, At the end of the day, you're still enjoying it. You're still able to enjoy it from different like perspectives in different ways. So at the end of the day, as long as you're both satisfied in how you eat it, then that's fine. But it's okay to have that different opinion from one another. You don't have to really fight over it, but that simple example really highlights how um, you can do certain things in different ways. And that's why it's also important to open your eyes and your mind to different options as well. And it won't kill you if you try barbecue sauce, and it won't kill you either if you try ketchup, right? Well, unless you're allergic, then of course don't do that to yourself. But yes, when it comes to this uh, type of matters, then you just need to be able to accept that, oh, I like this, you like that, and that's okay. You don't have to like quarrel about it unless like you really want to and have the energy for it. But when it comes to that, that's why it's also nice to have different people, like people that are different from you in your life, because not only you get to get a different perspective of another person, but also you get to experience different things, in life, because sometimes we don't like to go out of our comfort zone, and those people in our lives can help us in getting out of our comfort zone. But with that said, I am done with my food analogies. But
I
in
was
my
gonna ask Belle if you were hungry.
it's really
So
effective for
I
me to
think moral of
explain it
the
that way.
story, if you want to stay on Belle's good side, know which chicken nugget to get her and what the type that she likes. But it's kind of true, right? Sometimes there are little things that you don't it doesn't impact or infringe upon your core values or anything very important. It's just like their preference, right? And you have your preference, and there are times when you give in to the other person. You sacrifice a little just to avoid that the little battle that you're gonna have to go up against each other, right? Just to keep the peace. Whereas for me, I like my black and gray clothing. Jem likes the color and the colorful stuff. And sometimes she goes, "Oh, we want to dress up as a family. We'll be matching." Be like, "Okay, sure." Just that's okay. You just do that once, and it makes them happy, right? It's part of like the sacrifice. Nothing big, nothing, not a big deal. But I can see there in our live chat. Rod also says here, like, in terms of what makes compromise easier or harder, is that just let them, right? Sometimes you just let them have what they want. That can make it easy as well, right? And then hopefully they see that as well. It's like, hey, remember when I let you have those chicken nuggets that you wanted from that place that you specifically told me, and I got that for you, and I went out of my way. This time we're gonna go get pizza. From the place that I want. Something along those lines, right? Like I think food is always a simple analogy that we
Yes.
can all share. Rod also says that he likes all the food analogies, Bell. So keep them coming. I think we can apply those analogies in our own experiences and in our own scenarios. But for me, the only thing that I'm going to add to that is obviously compromises aren't always easy, right? It's always sometimes where it's harder, sometimes more easygoing. But generally that comes from past experiences that you've been through and being able to communicate your needs, and then the trust and the respect that you have for each other. The trust and respect that goes both ways. That's not just one way, right? Compromise it's give and take, just like what our topic title is, right? It's not all just give, and the other person takes everything and doesn't give anything back to you, right? It's trust, it's respect, it's communication. Being able to communicate your needs, and then trusting the other person and respecting the other person, so that you can all work together, so that you can keep the peace, you can keep the balance. And then remember that there's more than just one way, right? There could be a third option to reach the goals that you want. Perhaps like in Bell's analogy, you get the chicken nuggets and I'll take care of the sauce, right? I'll give you your chicken nuggets, but the sauce selection is mine. That's a give and take. That's compromise right there. Okay. But hopefully we've all taken something away, if not just about food analogies, but we've taken something away to help us make better compromising decisions with each other, to keep the peace, to keep the strong relationships, and build it on mutual trust and mutual give and take. Before we continue, before we go to our verse of the week, just want to quickly read from this. Remember that compromise, when done with grace, with kindness, it's never a loss. It's never a weakness. It's a reflection of love. It's a reflection of patience, of care, and even wisdom, right? To make the compromise where you can build that peace, that trust, that respect that works for the two parties involved. And with that, what we're going to do, we're going to quickly read Rod's other acronym, which is GIVE, goodness in victoriously extending, and then he added there, our love. So thank you for all the insights and all the comments that we've been receiving in our broadcast today. Hopefully you've taken something away. But one of the things that we have here, one of our segments that we always look forward to, is our verse of the week. So we'll get our brothers there in the main studio to play that, which is titled, Teach Your Children to Remember God. So let's all listen to this.
Nowadays, even young people can lead very busy lives. They have assignments to complete, friends to spend time with, places to go, activities to attend, movies to watch, games to play, and the list goes on. And if they're young enough, their parents can have a lot of influence on what they spend their time on. But who should we, as well as our children, always make time for? I'm Brother Gilbert Anichete, and please allow me to share this verse of the week with you. Let's read Ecclesiastes 12:1. Remember your Creator while you are young, before the bad times come, before the years come when you say, I have wasted my life. So you see, there's a danger of being distracted by the many activities that we and even our children fill our lives with. And so the Bible reminds us, remember your Creator while you are young. So to the parents, let's teach our young children to devote their time to serving God. Let's teach them to be prayerful and devoted in worshiping God. This way, as our children grow up and become adults, they will be devoted members of the Church of Christ and continue to receive God's guidance and care. Dear friends, we invite you, join us in our Bible studies and worship services and learn how you and your children can also show God that you truly recognize Him in your life. This is our verse of the week. Stay safe, stay strong, and stay faithful. God bless.
Thank you to Brother Gilbert for that inspiring message to take with us for the week ahead. And, this comes to an end for us here for our show today. But, Jay, do you have perhaps any greetings or shout outs?
Just want to say thank you again to my co-host, Belle, there in the United Kingdom, and of course to everyone that's tuned in with us. And quick shout out to my wife, Jem, and to our daughter, Lena, for helping me to learn more what it means to make a peaceful compromise made out of love. Over to you, Belle.
Well, before anything, I wanted to greet Jay a happy birthday. It was his birthday last week, and he enjoyed it with his family and friends, and it was really nice from what he told me. So happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you.
Our ugly Jay. But yes, I also want to greet my family, my mom, Aunt Erica, Arian, Sam, Dan, and to everyone who was able to support us today. Honestly, it really means a lot to us. And yes, I also want to say thank you to our critics. But yes, with that said, thank you for the special effects. And also, I would like to say thanks to our sis Tessa Senas and brother Edwin Asibuke, as well as our brother Wally Tarai, our INC radio station manager. And of course, special thanks to our CEBSI president and CEO and CFO coordinator, Brother Angelo Eranio Manalo, as well as our executive minister, our dearest brother Eduardo V. Manalo. And once again, thank you so much for joining us. I'm Belle from the United Kingdom.
And I'm Jay from Australia. We have been your host for today's broadcast of INCRadio's Faith and Melody. Join us again tomorrow on the next episode. And to close off this show for today, we'll be listening to the song The Prize Will Finally Be Won. Join us again on the next episode and enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you, everyone. Bye for now.
Bye-bye. Take care.
We got to keep on running, onwards we must rise. We're not running for nothing, keep our eyes on the prize. Though we may be tired, we must never stop. There's nothing to it, or just do it. The crown of life, we cannot lose it. Stand up, hold your head up high. Get up, we're racing for our faith. Rise up and fight for the prize. Get up and complete the race. We're racing towards the finish line. We have to make it to the end, yeah. Stand up, hold your head up high. Get up and complete the race. happen. We will never give up.
'Cause we are in it to win it. The crown of love is our reward.
Stand up, hold your head up high. Get up, we're racing for our faith. Rise up and fight for the rise. Get up and complete the race. We're racing towards the finish line. We have to make it to the end. Stand up, hold your head up high. Get up and complete. Our race is almost over.
The prize will finally be won.
The prize will finally be won. Keep running a little bit longer. Keep running a little bit longer. Don't even think of quitting.
Don't even think of forfeiting.
We're almost at the finish line.